What if your relationship with food isn't actually where your emotional eating begins? What if the way you eat is simply reflecting how you've been living your life? You don't just rush through meals, you rush through your mornings. You rush through conversations, you rush through your workouts, you even feel a little rushed during vacation. So basically, you are rushing through your entire life. And at the end of the day, food becomes the first place you actually get to stop and rest. Unfortunately, that stopping comes with guilt because of the overeating of the sugar and the processed food. It's not peace. And if that sounds familiar, I think today's episode is going to feel like someone's turning on the light bulb for you. Because if you are feeling like you're binging food, you might actually be binging life also. So before we dive in, if Emotional Eats Podcast has been helping you understand yourself in ways that diets never have, would you take a second to please follow the show? Following the podcast helps so many women be able to tune into these conversations. And please remember, if you're looking to dig deeper and you're looking for community, check out the show notes for the link to join the Cool Girl Collective. So let's start talking about something that completely changed how I looked at emotional eating. And for me, the biggest problem I used to think was food. I really thought food was the thing. If I could just slow down while I was eating, if I could just stop eating sugar, if I could just quit overeating at every meal, then everything would fall into place, right? But then one day, something happened that made me laugh. Well, not at the time, but it also made me realize something about myself. When I was teaching, I was running out the door at 6 o'clock in the morning. I had coffee in one hand, my purse over my shoulder, lunch in the other hand, a bag full of papers that I had graded. I was thinking about the students and making sure that I got to school before they were collecting outside my door. I was wondering what emails were coming my way from parents. I was already planning dinner in my head. I was making a mental to-do list of the planning I had to do. And when I went to go out the door, the handle of the door caught my bag and it yanked me backwards hard. And for a second, I just stood there. I was annoyed and my coffee was everywhere. But then I started laughing because I realized that is how I lived my entire life. It was 100 miles per hour, 0 to 60 every single day. So it made me stop and it put me back into the present moment. And I started to wonder if this is how I leave my house every day, how am I living my entire life? And is this having anything to do with the way that I handle food? Because I also was a very fast eater and I felt like everything in my world was going at the same rate. So just remember, the way you do one thing in your life is probably the way you do everything. And that's a phrase I know you've heard before, but it's true. The way you do one thing is often the way you do everything. Now, I don't think that's 100% true all of the time because I do feel like high functioning women are really good at getting all those things done, living their life in a way where they're taking care of their to-do list, their household, their kids, and then they do fall into the sugar at night. But there's a reason why that's happening. So I want you to think about some things. Here's some questions that I want you to mull over. Are you rushing through your meals? Are you eating your meals standing up? Are you eating in the car? Are you rushing through conversations? Are you rushing through conversations and not really paying attention or listening because you're thinking about either what you're going to say or the next thing that you have to do? Because sometimes we interrupt people because our brain is already on to the next thought, and that's a habit. Do you finish someone's sentences? That will often be an indicator of that too. Are you eating lunch while you're on the phone, on social media scrolling or answering emails or text messages? Are you listening to podcasts at 1.5 speed because regular speed feels too slow? I do that all the time because I want to fit more in. Do you check your phone every time there's 10 seconds of silence? That hit me hard. When I thought about every time I had some quiet and silence, I had to fill it with something. Do you drive somewhere and barely remember getting there? That autopilot of getting home or accidentally taking the same route when you're supposed to go someplace else? When was the last time you did just one thing at a time? No multitasking. We've learned that that's not really the best thing to do. When was the last thing you've done something without having your phone with you? Or you've gone and done something without a lot of planning or prep, just one thing at a time. Because I think many of us have forgotten how to do one thing at a time. So here's a huge realization that happened to me. Maybe you're not really addicted to food, but you're addicted to finally stopping and having a moment to yourself, and food fills that gap. Think about your evening. If you've been giving to everyone else all day, you're working, you're driving, you're helping other people, you're problem solving, you make thousands of decisions in a day. You're problem solving, thinking, doing, holding everything together, and then finally you sit down. And what do you get to do? You just get to sit with the chips, the ice cream, the chocolate, the peanut butter, the cookies, whatever your comfort food is. And for the very first time all day, you stop and your body is able to soften and just sit, and you're able to be quiet and your brain gets to go quiet. Food didn't create that peace though, because it also doesn't last very long. And if there's other underlying things going on with your nervous system, you're not really solving it. You're giving it a temporary hit with the processed food or the sugar. It's just a place where your nervous system knows it can sit for a minute, and food is a way to calm it very quickly. It's so available and it can calm you so fast. So let's think about avoidance when we sit down. Here's the harder part to hear. And I get this because it's hard to imagine what happens when we slow down, and that's why we avoid it. That's why we're escaping uncomfortable feelings. But we don't want to slow down sometimes because slowing down feels really uncomfortable. If we get quiet, we might notice some things like how tired we are, how lonely we feel, how anxious we've been, how disconnected we become. You know, food is a great disconnector from our bodies, but it also can disconnect us from the world, especially if we're eating in secret or when other people can't see us. We also might be uncomfortable and wanting to avoid the fact that maybe we're unhappy in certain parts of our lives. Food gives us something else to focus on. I think it's a lot easier for me to think about chocolate and peanut butter than any kind of grief or sadness I might be having or discomfort of being alone. It's easier to think about counting calories and macros, gives you something to check off on your to-do list, than it is to think about setting really good, strong boundaries. That's a really hard thing for us to do. And it's hard for us to admit that we're burnt out. Food's not always the problem. Food is your distraction. Food is helping you be in avoidance mode and not have to think about whatever else is going on in your life. So the big thing here is to remember, if you feel like you're binging food, you're binging way more than food. You are binging life. And when we binge, we could be binging productivity. We're definitely binging information. There's so much information coming in, whether it's news, things on social media, tips, nutrition, exercise, memes, you know, all the things that we're getting all the time. We are really binging that information, but it keeps us from having to think about our own problems when we're looking at other people's issues. We definitely binge scrolling. So food, alcohol, scrolling, shopping, they're all vices. They're all vices that we use to escape. Netflix. You know, the funny thing is, some of my clients also binge self-help. My clients also binge self-help books. I've done the same thing because there's no implementation. It feels good to read about what we should do, but we're not always implementing. And it helps us escape. This is the way I could be, but right now I'm not. We binge podcasts, and I am very guilty of that. I love to escape by listening to other people. I binge true crime podcasts and episodes on Netflix. We are constantly consuming, but we're not always processing. So think about that. When we're going, and binging, we are consuming things and life, but we're not always processing. That line has stayed with me for a while because I feel like I have not taken a lot of time to absorb everything that I am learning or seeing or feeling. The feeling is the biggest. So we are not digesting or just consuming, just like food, life. We don't give ourselves enough space to reflect or to ask ourselves, how am I doing? Am I grateful for these things? What do I need? What am I feeling right now? We just don't want to feel it. You know, if you're feeling sad or lonely or angry or irritated or someone's pushed your boundaries, We just don't want to feel it. We just keep moving. And that's why the food feels so good. It helps us completely avoid how we feel. So, again, if you feel like you're binging food, you might actually be binging other parts of your life and not taking time to slow down. This is where I want to give you another list of rules because this isn't another diet. This is just me, Kim, inviting you to become present again, to really be 100% where you are any given time. It's really hard to do that. Even driving, trying to be thankful for every green light or seeing the clouds or watching and being right on everything in the car and the driving and holding the steering wheel. We're on our phones and we're listening to messages and we're listening to music and we're listening to podcasts. When we are with people, are we really looking them in the eye? Are we listening? Are we summarizing what they say? Are we asking them to repeat things if we missed it? So today, I'm going to give you some thoughts. Drink your coffee while it's still hot or your tea. Sit and really enjoy it. Don't walk around, just sit for a moment. For those of you who've been watching me for a long time, if you're actually seeing this on YouTube or you're seeing the clip, you'll notice I'm in a completely different place. We are spending a few months at our place in Wisconsin instead of in Florida. And it's a completely different place. It's teaching me all over again how to slow down and really enjoy having coffee, looking out the window without being on my phone first thing in the morning. Mike and I are actually at night, not even turning the TV on every night. We're just sitting and really enjoying the sunset. And we're reading, we're sitting and enjoying quiet, but it's probably taken me a couple weeks to come down and really appreciate that. Are you able to sit without your phone? Are you able to go walk someplace safely without your phone? Have one meal where you're sitting down and putting your fork down and eating slowly, really tasting it. Maybe before you walk into your house after work, take 3 breaths. And you know, some of you who are in the community, you know that I love to do tapping, but breathing is great too. Taking a few breaths, reminding yourself that you are at home, this is your time. Maybe you can go somewhere and drive without having all the noise. Maybe you can take a walk and really notice the trees and the sunshine. And maybe ask yourself, what am I feeling? And before you eat, maybe ask, is this really what I want? Is this going to be satisfying? Is this food serving me and making me feel full and making me feel good? Is this food possibly a way for me to avoid some feelings? That's hard to do. And I'm going to say with my clients, I totally understand when they say it's so hard to remember to stop. The podcast that was 1 or 2 before this one, the episode with Andrea Maxim, Dr. Andrea explains with her clients that she has them stop before every single piece of food that goes in their mouth, not just the cookies and the chips and the processed food and sugar. Every single bit of food that goes in their mouths, she helps them stop and think about what is going on right then and there with the food. How's this food going to make me feel? And that's a hard practice to get into, but once you start, it will become automatic, just like brushing your teeth. So all these little tiny moments of presence and being where you are, 100% in the moment where you are. They teach your nervous system that it doesn't have to wait until dessert to feel safe. It doesn't have to wait till the pantry raid at 9 o'clock to feel good and safe. Or the 3 o'clock in the afternoon binge to get the energy and the sugar up. We don't have to wait till then to feel good. And you certainly don't need to earn your rest. So many women have trained themselves that I'll sit down after I do these 2 things. I'll relax when. I'll take care of myself once I get all this done. That day never comes. Food becomes your permission slip to relax. And then we start turning into, I've worked hard today, so I deserve this cookie or 5. And maybe you do just deserve something, but maybe it's not always food. Maybe you deserve rest or connection or quiet or joy or time outside, a conversation, a good book, a bath, a hot shower. Maybe you just need to laugh a little bit. A life where peace isn't something that you experience only while you're eating something that tastes good. So today I want to leave you with one question. What if your eating is not about having to eat less? What it's just doing is possibly, so I want to leave you with this question today. What if your eating isn't so I want to ask you one question today. What if it is not about you having to eat less? What if it is about you living differently so you don't need that food? Because I don't think emotional eating is healed by becoming better at controlling food. I think it's healed by creating a life you no longer need to escape from, a day that you don't have to avoid any feelings from at night. And this doesn't happen overnight, it takes practice. It happens one present moment at a time, one slower meal, one deep breath, one honest conversation with someone where you need to set one boundary, one walk without your phone, one cup of coffee or tea that you actually get to sit and enjoy, because then your life becomes less frantic and your relationship with food can become less frantic also. Thank you so much for being with me today. If this episode made you stop and see yourself in a new way, I'd be really grateful if you follow the show and share it with another woman who might need to hear it. And if you're ready to go deeper, join us in the Cool Girl Collective. You can find that link in the show notes. And we are trying to get more intentional, calmer, have peace with food in our bodies, even in those menopausal years. Until the next time, take care of yourself and remember that healing doesn't begin by running into another diet. Sometimes it's just about slowing down and making sure that you are taking care of yourself. Thanks for being here.